Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is a new top 5 best stories video and I hope you enjoy. The Tinkerer, a very underrated Spidey rogue. But come on, how can he be? He's just an old man who can make very powerful weapons. Well, there's another top 5 stories list where I've already made a previous complete history video on this guy earlier on this channel. But his stories are fun and important enough that I want to talk about him again. Without further ado, here are his top 5 best stories. Number 5. The Uncanny Threat of the Terrible Tinkerer. The Amazing Spider-Man issue 2 had the first appearance of the villain. Peter is running an errand for a professor to pick up his radio at a repair shop. There he meets the Tinkerer. His spider sense picks up there's a mini recorder in the radio and he goes back to the shop as the Amazing Spider-Man. There he sees that the Tinkerer is working with aliens to take over the world, but Spidey destroys all of his machines, everyone runs away, and leaving only a mask of the Tinkerer's face behind. What a short tale. Tinkerer for some reason goes along with this. Even now, I don't think the comics ever explained this, but when this came out, there was a question about what's the deal with these aliens. We learned there's a lot more to this story in future comics, like how Quentin Beck is one of the aliens, but overall, it was Tinkerer's first story, and it was not bad, but here, all he had was a ray gun and that knocked Spider-Man out. Tinkerer is still an old man here. This may be the most well-known Tinkerer issue, but far from the best. Number 4. Strike Force. Tinkerer had a little role in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 310. One of Peter Parker's college professors has been blackmailed by the Tinkerer to use his lab in secret. Why? To create a new power weapon for the villain Killer Shrike. But Spider-Man finds out before Shrike gets his power amplifier, and in the fight, Shrike threatens the Tinkerer to give it to him before pay, and so the Tinkerer sabotages the device, ending the story. Tinkerer even escapes Spidey in the end here. This is the number 1 moment in the comics that proves to never mess with the Tinkerer. Number 3. My Killer Dakar. This was the Tinkerer's second appearance, returning after 158 issues in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 106 that came out September 1976. Spider-Man's Spidermobile has come back to life apparently after Mysterio number 2 tricks Spider-Man into driving it off a pier, and it attacks and captures and drives Spider-Man to a rooftop of his old enemy the Tinkerer is waiting on, his third supervillain ever, and he has a friend today, Toy, his muscle. Spider-Man tries to take the Tinkerer out of his Spidermobile. He karate chops Spidey and that hurts him. Okay, that's kind of weird. Whatever. Then they get in a crash and Spidey webs him and Toy up. This is just a really unique story. Honestly, the Spidermobile is in it and the Tinkerer improved, I think. Honestly, if this story didn't have him return, it would feel like a crime. Also, we didn't know this in this comic, but Toy is actually a robot. Number 2. Toys of the Terrible Tinkerer. The Spectacular Spider-Man issue 53 had the first time the Tinkerer was comparable to the supervillain Toyman. One day, a woman is on a ledge of a building, frightened by a police officer asking her to come down, but she's hallucinating and sees him as a toy army soldier. Doing some investigating in the building, Peter Parker sees a guy robbing the place. It's Toy, the Tinkerer's robot bodyguard. Getting hit with gas shooting from a jack-in-the-box, Toy gets away. For a while, at least, Spider-Man confronts Tinkerer and Toy. Philip traps Spider-Man down below in a room full of deadly toys firing guns at him. The main reason I find this to be one of Tinkerer's best stories is the ending, where he cries over the death of Toy, the robot he created that was his best friend he had, or thought he had. Spider-Man guesses everyone needs someone to care, even if it's just a toy. Of course, the giant killer toys were cool also, but it was the end scene that got this story so high up. And number 1, Coming Home. This story is very recent in Spectacular Spider-Man issues 306 and 307. Phineas Mason has escaped custody today after previously working with real extraterrestrials called the Verdami by hacking into Ironheart's suit with his glasses. There, he makes a battle suit and finds the Spectacular Spider-Man, but with some alien nanobots, Spidey ends up discovering that Phineas has been simply sorrowful and resentful towards humanity. Spider-Man makes him experience his own suffering, which changes the Tinkerer's point of view and makes him regret helping the Verdami. In the end, he leaves with the aliens off of Earth so they don't attack Earth again, doing something pretty heroic. Wow, this was surprising, but a well-written turn for the character, and to date is his most recent one in the 616 universe. It started out with him pretending to work with aliens, to it becoming a reality. I love the character explanation they gave him. Sure, it was a little less to do with tinkering like Spectacular Issue 53, but to be an original character in Marvel, it works well enough. The battle armor he has was pretty silly, but hey, I guess there needed to be an action scene somewhere. Also, before this two-issue story, he pretended to have a brother who was just really a robot he created. This was a great conclusion to the modern Tinkerer story arc, I think. The last two stories I can see go either way for most people. I do think the most recent Tinkerer stories from issues 306 and 307 are his best, especially since it was built up over previous stories. Anyway, those are Tinkerer's best stories. Hilariously, these stories are probably the only five I could choose from, since most of his appearances are cameos that are only like 1 or 2 pages. Honestly, my complete history of Tinkerer video was under half an hour, so anyway, thank you all for watching and have a great Spider-Man Sunday.